I think they've been shocked at the degree to which we're undermining our partner and ally in
And guys, welcome back to my run on Battletech. Still at the beginning of the game here.
And I think what's going to happen in the next phase of this inevitably is Israel finishes the job in Rafah. We're now likely to see Hezbollah initiate operations, and Israel will have to respond. And I think a ground operation in southern Lebanon is an almost certainty. And when that occurs, it's going to be hard to put this back in the bottle.
You got this tiny little country with a very small population, with a small industrial base. They rely on us in many respects, where they purchase certain armaments and so forth. We're putting the screws to this country. It is the only country standing between us and Iran, because the President of the United States, in my view, his behavior, his conduct, I'll say that you don't have to, it's truly, in my view, treasonous. You cannot have a commander-in-chief who has an administration, a Department of State, that is enabling, funding the terrorist activities, funding the nuclear programs, if not directly, indirectly, of a state that is threatening us. We'll be right back.
In here, you can expect to find crystal clear audio, expansive display space, and more comfort for everyone. But we still left room for all the unexpected things you'll find out here. The new 2024 Grand Cherokee lineup. Jeep, there's only one.
Same great style, new lower starting MSRP on our most popular 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee models. Visit Jeep.com for details.
The issue of animal cruelty and animal suffering across this country is an enormous issue. It's easy sometimes to kind of disassociate with something that's not right in front of you. Our commercials are showing footage, and it's often a softened version of what is actually occurring in these situations. We see dogs carrying chains heavier than their own body weight. And this is how this dog lives its entire life. Basically a circle. This is its whole existence. We have found dogs with no protection from the elements, to be without shelter, without adequate water. Sometimes they're just left to languish until they die.
And that's why we need your support more urgently than ever. So go online, call, or scan this code to save an animal from suffering.
They've got a lock on me.
When I think about the suffering that I see, and it's all terrible. It is so much more common than people think.
And so much worse. But today, you can take one simple action to save an animal's life. Just scan this code, or you can visit our website or call this toll-free number and sign up with your $19 monthly gift. You will save lives. That's our promise. Do it in the next 5 minutes, and we'll send you this exclusive t-shirt and welcome kit.
If you are there in person and you see what we're seeing and you hear the cries and the whimpering and you feel the fear, I think most people would be as outraged as I am.
Please,
Dude, pick a shot far out, see what's going on.
And help them. Go online, call, or scan now.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Mike Goodell, and I'm excited to bring you my Keys and Dream bed sheets for the best offer ever. We're all experiencing unprecedented rising prices, but I was able to secure a limited amount of keys of cotton for a great price. And I'm going to pass those savings directly onto you. Get my Keys and Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 with your promo code. They're the most luxurious sheets ever, made with the world's finest cotton, grown only in the region between the Sahara Desert, Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, where the weather conditions are perfect for growing cotton. My sheets are ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. I guarantee they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own. So go to mypillow.com and call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 50% on my Keys and Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.98. Quantities are extremely limited at these amazing prices, so please order now.
Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm John Scott in New York. Former President Trump picking up more delegates across several key states today as he continues to inch closer to becoming the Republican presidential nominee. Mr. Trump is projected to win both Missouri and Idaho's caucuses and Michigan's Republican convention. He's won more than 200 delegates so far. Trump already has his sights set on next week's Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states will hold their primaries.
Good to go.
A dangerous blizzard is slamming Northern California with hurricane-force winds and several feet of snow. The Sierra Nevada could be blanketed under more than 10 feet of snow before it's all over. Millions in the region are under winter weather alerts and tens of thousands have lost power. Blizzard conditions are expected to last through tomorrow, but snow is forecast to fall over the region well into next week. I'm John Scott. Now, back to Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Yes, Commander.
Welcome back, Robert Greenway, former National Security Council Senior Director under President Trump. Robert Greenway, you just mentioned when Israel's done with Hamas, although the Biden administration is doing everything it can to prevent Israel from actually having a victory against Hamas, which is mind-boggling. Iran's already given a word to Hezbollah, the other end, to go ahead and attack Israel. Why do you think Iran is doing all this?
Look, I think the calculation was to take the axis of resistance, which was always designed to be an offensive deterrent, so that if anyone struck inside Iran, it would be employed to threaten their adversary. And I think the decision has been made to put it into complete offense and to initiate the operations we saw beginning on October the 7th. The idea is gradually and incrementally bring Israel to the point of exhaustion, where it can no longer strike and impede the completion of the nuclear weapons program, which would ensure regime survival and allow it to exert its influence unchecked across the region. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. And I think that's what's likely to occur as Israel completes its operation and Hezbollah enters into the fray at scale.
Well, let me put a fine point on this, because I think that's a brilliant point. You're saying Iran right now has orchestrated all this through its terrorist surrogates to keep Israel bogged down, knowing we have a man in the White House who is coddling, appeasing Iran and their terrorist surrogates, and now is the time to break out with their nuclear weapon. Is that your point?
Absolutely. So as you see now, a circumstance they never imagined, where the U.S. did not prevent them and in fact enable them by constraining Israel. Now the only obstacle to them and their objectives is Israel. And if they can bring them to exhaustion and the U.S. is complicit, they achieve their goals. And this is when Khamenei is now positioning himself and a successor to ensure the second regime succession plan. And I think that is very much a top of mind for him. They saw what happened in Libya, North Korea, and in Ukraine. They know that regime survival is contingent upon possession of nuclear weapons. I think that's where they're headed.
Wow, I think you're now
Under heavy fire.
right on. I think this is 100% correct. I'm going to swing back to the media. There's no discussion of this in the vast majority of the media. I've seen nothing being done in Congress, whether it's Republican committees in the House or Democratic committees in the Senate. I see no discussion by party leadership, particularly the Democrats, about any of this, because they just circle a wagon around Biden. In fact, it's worse. You see Biden kowtowing to political elements and political movements that are led by individuals like Tlaib, who keep talking about the river to the sea, and Joe Biden is so worried about saving his own ass in this election that he's doing everything possible to undermine the state of Israel, publicly, privately, militarily, economically. Iran sees it, the Palestinian terrorists see it, our other enemies see it, and this has created this horrendous circumstance in this country. And yet is our media simply incapable of explaining this, or unwilling to explain it?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think their inclination is to support the policies and objectives of the administration, and they've been fully complicit supporters since Obama was attempting to sell the JCPOA. And so I think at the end of the day, we're seeing a media that is certainly supports the ideas and are complicit. And you see a distracted political class with a conflict in Europe, with the potential risk in Taiwan. I think there's little political capital and time to do it, and unfortunately, that's what the mullahs are counting on to complete the job.
Finally, what happens if Iran gets nukes, which they're going to get apparently, because Biden's not doing a damn thing to stop them, and neither is Congress?
If they do, they're going to control by default the world's global energy markets and 25% of the world's trade and information flows. as we've seen the Houthis disrupt undersea cables. When that happens, we could move easily into a global recession and potentially depression as they try and exert control over it. And again, China requires, above all else, access to oil in order to fund its military ambitions, and they need 43% of that for the Middle East. Both of those things are at play.
Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. This is more than a Cold War, isn't it? The Axis powers exist, they're exerting power, and Joe Biden's incapable of even confronting it. Is that about right?
It's taking shape before our eyes, and we're actually engineering the construction of it.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he's worse than Neville Chamberlain. Neville Chamberlain didn't pay for the Third Reich. Joe Biden's paying for these Axis powers. Robert Greenway, Heritage Foundation, keep up your great work. We appreciate you, my friend.
An honor to join you. Thank you, sir.
We'll be right back.
Shit. Shit.
Try dietary supplements for cold tearing for healthy joints. Once retired, Marcus decided, I will never again work for another man or woman. I abandoned my corporate phone plan, and I'll get a new plan with consumers selling for up to half the cost. Let's go, birds. When freedom calls, we're here to answer.
On it. Hey, Emma.
You need a mattress, right?
Yeah.
Been doing a little research.
No?
The soft plastic has 2 layers of springs that contour to your body.
Nice.
It has a 3-inch durable.
Oh, come on, man.
And it's surprisingly affordable.
But I just wanted to know about dinner.
Soft luxury mattresses.
Shit.
He has his whole life ahead. And I want to be there for all of it, you know? Time is precious. I want to make the most of it. Because he deserves my best.
Missed everything. Wow.
I hear ya.
This is the carry-on closet. A suitcase with a modified patented closet system that keeps you organized. Pack all you need for up to 10 days. Travel without ever unpacking. The comfort of on the go. Unpack in seconds at SoGuard.co.
If you've got a military, first responder, law enforcement background, GovX.com is for you. Members save on epic brands and the gear they need for on and off duty lives. Signing up is fast, easy, totally free. If you qualify, visit GovX.com.
I'm Laura Geller, and I'd like to show you how to use my favorite foundation, Big Balance and Brighten. You just take strokes until you feel comfortable with what it looks like on your skin. I get this beautiful natural coverage. Learn more at laurageller.com.
I'm a 79-year-old powerlifter. I set 4 state records for New York State for my age bracket. I set a national record.
My way
I'm
into it.
See, your body is remarkable. It'll adapt to whatever you're doing. If you're doing nothing, you can bet you're degenerating faster than anybody else. Your body needs to be fueled. And depending on the fuel you put in is how your body's going to adapt. I found for me, my body adapts better eating healthier food, putting better things in me. I don't have the discipline to put together all of that fruit and vegetable thing. Forget about it. Balance in nature helps me do that. I take balance in nature because I
Wish there was a heel.
I'm reaping the benefit of this product. There's no question in my mind. Otherwise, I wouldn't take it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets with your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code Fox News.
We have high standards at St. so we expect every shoot is not perfect.
Because what is drawn around the corner on places like these? This place is not extra.
Yep. Back it
It's the
up.
first time ever that platform will not be stopped offline. Tuesday, they just found a way to make it harder when the platform doesn't stop.
It's really gotta let me good like your life depends on it.
What team? The platform is here. Just have hair in my ears. Why? Next level chat. Only Thursday on Fox.
of the gentlemen I worked with at the Department of Justice under former Attorney General Meese was Stephen Calabrese. Brilliant guy. He's a law professor at Northwestern University, former law clerk to Justice Sanchez and Scalia, among other things. You've been writing extensively, you've been filing briefs, and one of the briefs that you were involved in, Stephen Calabrese, was a brief with former Attorney General Edwin Meese, for whom we both worked. And you are challenging the appointment of Special Counsel Jack Smith under the Appointments Clause of the Constitution. Tell the American people what that's all about.
Okay, so the Appointments Clause says that principal officers have to be nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate. And Jack Smith, of course, is not a principal officer. Inferior officers can be appointed if Congress by law vests in the head of a cabinet department the power to appoint a senior officer. And Congress has passed no law vesting in the Attorney General the power to appoint a special counsel like Jack Smith. Congress has vested power to appoint inferior officers in the Secretaries of Energy, Education, Transportation, and HHS, but it has not done so with the Justice Department, and therefore Jack Smith's appointment is illegal and unconstitutional, and every single thing he has done since he was appointed a year and a half ago is illegal, null, and void.
I want the American people to understand your background. You used to serve as a top legal advisor to a former Attorney General of the United States. You and I worked with the Office of Legal Counsel, which is considered the legal constitutional brain trust of the federal government. You're not coming out of left field here. You're looking at the Constitution, you're looking at the statutes, and you're saying, wait a minute, this is an illegal, unconstitutional appointment. And Stephen Calabrese, the man has enormous power. He's pushing the edges of the Constitution in every direction, whether it's immunity, whether it's attorney-client privilege, whether it's due process. He's throwing all these things on the table, forcing the Supreme Court to address each and every one of them. He sure as hell is acting like somebody who has some kind of authority. So what did the Attorney General do to give him any authority?
The Attorney General has a regulation that says he can appoint independent counsels, and he invoked that regulation and cited a few irrelevant statutes. But he has no power under the Constitution to appoint Jack Smith. And in essence, by appointing Jack Smith, what he's attempting to do is prevent Donald Trump from being elected president. And it's a complete outrage. It's a sham. There is no authority whatsoever for this. The biggest problem I'm facing is that although Ed Meese and I and Gary Lawson have been raising this point in an amicus brief, President Trump's lawyer in the Supreme Court, John Sauer, has not yet made the argument. And it's very important in the upcoming presidential immunity case that John Sauer make this argument as well as us making it in an amicus brief, because the court may otherwise say that the issue isn't raised by the party of the case. So that would be one very important thing that could help.
And Congress knows how to do this. You just pointed out that other departments have did exactly that. And if there's an inherent power for a cabinet secretary to make these kinds of appointments, then why would Congress have passed these statutes in the first place? You're exactly right. Nobody conferred the power on the Attorney General of the United States to appoint a special counsel with this kind of power. Right?
If he could appoint a special counsel with this kind of power, he could appoint 100 special counsels to investigate people who he doesn't like. And you got to remember that Jack Smith was a private citizen when Merrick Garland lifted him off the street and gave him the power to prosecute Donald Trump. And the power to lift a private citizen off the street and turn them in effect into a U.S. attorney is a formidable power and a very dangerous power. There is a way in which attorney generals can appoint independent counsels. They can designate Senate-confirmed U.S. attorneys to act as an independent counsel outside of the district that the U.S. attorney is appointed in. So, for example, Patrick Fitzgerald, who was the U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, prosecutor, Vice President Cheney's chief of staff, Scooter Libby, in the D.C. District Court. That is constitutional. Naming a U.S. attorney to be a special counsel is permissible. What the Attorney General can't do is lift private citizens off the street or employees of the Justice Department and make them special counsel.
We'll be right back.
Refill?
Help yourself, man.
Dude, dog food in the fridge?
It's not dog food. It's fresh, man. Real veggies.
Warning.
Real weird.
Exceeding recommended level.
He was bad luck anyway.
Fresh, Pat. It's not dog food. It's food.
Damage.
It's the cabinets to go. Buy more, save more sale. Save 40% on gracious home custom cabinets and up to 40% on custom stock and premier cabinetry collections. This sale ends March 5th. Hurry in today to get your dream kitchen and get more wow for less. I love this one.
Viral jump jet.
Sandals savings at the Grenadier. Now winter sale. Visit sandals.com or call 1-800-SANDALS.
My goal is to make lines in the face absolutely okay. I believe in looking your best at every stage and being okay where you are. Miracle Law is a game changer for mature state. It's the product I've been dreaming about my whole life.
For gentle, dependable constipation relief, try Senecot. It works differently than other laxatives because it's made from the senna plant, a natural vegetable laxative ingredient. Gentle, dependable, Senecot. Also available in delicious gummies.
Parents, the liberal media and courts are desperate to stop President Trump, but he's poised to win back the White House. And Mike Huckabee wants to show your kids why with the Kids Guide to President Trump. Get it for free at freetrumpguide.com. That's freetrumpguide.com.
Warning.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cuno Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cuno's extra strength, high absorption magnesium helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cuno, the brand I trust.
Let's talk about the border immigration
Commander.
in ways that typically are not discussed.
Congressman Chip Roy and Senator Ted Cruz waiting Sunday on Liberty Limited.
Don't need to tell me twice.
In time for war and peace. In time for
Time to
die.
Nice.
Should have run when you had the chance.
If you're talking,
No press.
inspired by a true story, Next Goal Wins is heartfelt and hilarious.
You have zero talent, skill, or understanding of the game.
The perfect underdog movie. They're weak. They are not weak. It's Taika Waititi's best film yet.
We've worked too long and hard for this.
You want been here a few days?
Next Goal Wins.
Every penny I was making was spent on drugs. When I found out about what the United Way could do, I was sitting inside the medical clinic on the phone, talking to someone and saying, I'm going to lose everything. I got nothing. I might as well be dead. I'm 14 years clean. Never thought that would be possible. United Way made that possible.
Welcome back, America. Professor Stephen Calabrese. You've written about Letitia James, the judge in that case, how they're trying to steal $500 million from Donald Trump and forcing him perhaps to sell properties as a basis for even appealing. You've written extensively that this violates numerous parts of our Constitution. Explain.
Letitia James has accused Trump of a crime in which there are no victims. She claims that he defrauded bankers who loaned him money by inflating the value of his property. But all of those bankers did their own independent assessments of the value of his property, and they agreed to lend money to them. Trump paid all the loans back. There's no victim here. No banker is complaining they were defrauded. In fact, Trump put on testimony from bankers saying they would gladly lend to him in the future. So there is no victim here. This is a victimless crime, and he's being fined $450 million for it. This violates the excessive fines clause of the 8th Amendment. It is a selective prosecution that violates the due process and equal protection clauses because Trump is being singled out for prosecution due to his political views in violation of the First Amendment and his right to freedom of speech and of the press. And in essence, what Attorney General James has done is to take a very vague New York statute that is rarely used and turn it into a bill of attainder to drain Donald Trump of all of his cash right as he's running for election as president and needs his cash in order to finance his campaign. This is the kind of thing that happens in Russia.
Shit.
To people like Alexei Navalny. It's un-American. It's a threat to the rule of law. It's an outrage. And unfortunately, Trump has to appeal through the New York State court system before he can get to the U.S. Supreme Court. But the U.S. Supreme Court should hear this case and should overrule the trial court.
And if it follows its own precedent, just 4 years ago in the Timms case, it will do exactly that. It will do it very, very quickly. There was a 9-0 decision with a 7 majority opinion, 2 additional opinions.
Son
This
of
is
a
a lot worse than
bitch.
the Timms case. And the more Letitia James professor is out there patting herself on the back for the good deed she's done, the more evidence she provides against herself when it goes to the Supreme Court. I want to have you back in the future. I want to discuss immunity. I want to discuss the Klan Act that's being used against Donald Trump. I want to discuss with you the all these other laws that are being thrown at him, because you have a very good handle on this, I believe. I want to thank you, Stephen Calabrese, professor at Northwestern University, a good friend of mine, a former colleague of mine. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you, Mark.
We'll be right back.
Throughout its history, the mission of Hillsdale College has been to develop the minds and improve the hearts of its students. As a commitment to this mission, every student signs an honor code. A Hillsdale College student is honorable in conduct, honest in word and deed, dutiful in study and service, and respectful of the rights of others. Through education, the student rises to self-government.
America's hospitals have been pushed to the brink by broken supply chains, workforce shortages, and high inflation. More than 100 rural hospitals have already closed, and many more operate in the red. Now, some in Congress want to reduce billions of dollars in funding for patient care. This will jeopardize patient access to quality care, especially in underserved communities. Congress, protect patient access to 24/7 hospital care.
The issue of animal cruelty and animal suffering across this country is an enormous issue. It's easy sometimes to kind of disassociate with something that's not right in front of you. Our commercials are showing footage, and it's often a softened version of what is actually occurring in these situations. We see dogs carrying chains heavier than their own body weight. And this is how this dog lives its entire life. Basically a circle. This is its whole existence. We have found dogs with no protection from the elements, to be without shelter, without adequate water. Sometimes they're just left to languish until they die.
And that's why we need your support more urgently than ever. So go online, call, or scan this code to save an animal who's suffering.
When I think about the suffering that I see, and it's all terrible, it is so much more common than people think.
And so much worse. But today, you can take one simple action to save an animal's life. Just scan this code, or you can visit our website or call this toll-free number and sign up with your $19 monthly gift. You will save lives. That's our promise. Do it in the next 5 minutes, and we'll send you this exclusive t-shirt and welcome kit.
If you are there in person and you see what we're saying and you hear the cries and the whimpering and you feel the fear, I think most people would be as outraged as I am.
Please hear their cries. Listen to your heart and help them. Go online, call, or scan now.
The day you get your clear choice dental implants changes your struggle with missing teeth forever. Roger. It changes how you eat, how you feel, and how you enjoy life. It changes your smile and how others smile at you. Clear Choice Network doctors have changed over 100,000 lives with dental implants, and they can change yours too. Because a Clear Choice day changes every day. Schedule a free consultation.
We have a garage door that doesn't lift.
So I went on Angie. It took me just a handful of minutes.
So vendors were knowledgeable, they did higher quality work.
They wanted us to be happy with the work done as well. It is a beautiful garage, I have to say.
Get started today at Angie.com.
Man, how many bathroom trips are you making each day? Try Super Beta Prostate Advanced, the #1 selling formula in its category. Made with Prostafend, a triple action blend to help reduce urges to urinate. Find it at Walmart or these retailers.
Welcome back, America. And we have a great show tomorrow night. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, just like this one. Chip Roy and Ted Cruz, we're going to discuss the border, immigration, the slavery that's been unleashed as a result of Biden's policies, the murder, mayhem in our own country, the Democrat Party and Biden kowtowing to Rashida Tlaib and her supporters and voters in places like Dearborn, Michigan. We're going to talk about Mitch McConnell, who should replace him. We're going to talk about the debt, because the interest on the debt within the next few months will be larger than the entire defense budget. And this is where the country's headed. I want to do a public service announcement to the reprobates at MSNBC, CNN, and there you go. This is called the Constitution of the United States. You might also grab a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Constitution's only 4,400 words long, so you should be able to read it. Take your face out of the Communist Manifesto, stop reading your talking points from the White House, and educate yourselves. You're humiliating yourselves. I'll see you next time, tomorrow night, on Life, Liberty, and Levin.
It must be Saturday because we're on, and so is One Nation ready to go. I'm Brian Kilmeade. Tonight on the show, we got some great guests. Among them, Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Michelle Tafoya weighs in on some huge news in sports, and Abigail Schreier. Why your kid in therapy could be the big problem. All that on deck. But first, I want to talk about the comeback. And we've seen a lot in politics throughout American history. First and foremost, perhaps, maybe the greatest, Harry Truman. Down to the polls, trying to fill FDR's shoes and navigate the aftermath of a world war. Thought to have little chance of winning the election in 1948. Stuns.
President Harry S. Truman becomes president. He takes office with a crisis of victory. But world war must be followed by an organization for world peace.
And he went on his whistle-stop tour, and he ended up winning an election, stunning everybody. And you may have forgotten about Richard Nixon, who rose from the political graveyard. The year 1962. After losing the governor's race to Pat Brown in California, bitterly proclaimed, "I am done with politics."
As I leave you, I want you to know, just think how much you're going to be missing. You don't have Nixon to kick around anymore.
Yeah, well, he came back, and he won the White House in 68 and 72.
This will be an open administration, open to new ideas, open to men and women of both parties.
Well, we know how that ended, but man, he was a great story for a while. There is no denying, though. There were great comebacks. They were unexpected. But we might just be witnessing the greatest of all. Yes, it's the same man that pulled off the biggest upset in political history back in 2016, Donald J. Trump. Look, I know there's a lot of runway left. 8 full months to go into the election. But here on One Nation, we are able to take a step back and take a deep breath and give credit where credit's due for what we've seen so far. It's easy to get caught up in the commotion, the chaos, the court cases. But think about the way Trump left the White House in 2020, impeached. Back in 2022, after the midterm elections, many of his candidates, you may remember, flamed out. It seemed like the former president was damaged goods.
Seeing race after race, House and Senate both, candidate after candidate associated with Donald Trump did either worse than expected or lost.
But despite the midterm neutralized red wave, he announced he was running again, and he has not looked back since. It's easy to get caught up in the sheer velocity of negative news stories, especially the court cases that never seem to end.
It was a tense day in court for former President Donald Trump, who took the stand in a $250 million civil trial that threatens his business empire in New York.
Now, it's hard to keep all of these straight, but as these civil and criminal trials churn forward, Donald Trump's prosecutor in Georgia found herself on the witness stand.
Yeah, but somehow, against all the odds, here we are.
Donald Trump taking another victory lap. The former president celebrating his second win in just over a week.
It's looking like we'll see another Trump-Biden rematch in November as voters here in South Carolina deliver another setback to Nikki Haley. Former President Trump moved one step closer to clinching the Republican nomination.
And straight ahead is Super Tuesday. I know I sound like a sports announcer, talking about a team or a player or the run of a lifetime. Like Michael Jordan coming back to win 3 championships in a row after leaving the game of basketball altogether. But it's time someone acknowledges this comeback, because you cannot deny what is happening before our eyes. And part of the reason the comeback is happening is because the things Trump stands for are exactly what the things Americans can no longer stand to witness, like a wide open border.
Walls work. Walls and wheels, I always said. It's one thing never gets obsolete, a wall and a wheel. Everything else is obsolete about 2 weeks after you come up with it.
Yeah. Criminals running rampant across our cities, some of which came here through the broken border.
The 22-year-old nursing student was found dead near Lake Herrick at the University of Georgia. Friday, police arrested 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra from Venezuela for Riley's murder.
And now I think everybody, Democrats, Independents, or Republicans, all want that border back. This all making our stance on the world stage look even weaker than ever before. Think about what's happening overseas. My sports announcer self would say there's a lot of game left to play here. And there is. And a lot of unexpected things around the corner. I get it. And like I said, it's easy to get caught up in the daily drama, the trials, the flamboyant personality. But the truth is, we are witnessing a man, even through immense adversity, well on his way to locking up a GOP nomination and leading President Biden in almost every single battleground state. What we are witnessing is unprecedented. It is historic. In many ways, he's already pulled off a hell of a comeback. So buckle up. We'll see if he can finish the job. Joining us now for this to offer some analysis, one of the best guys in the business, Fox News contributor, Washington Post columnist, Mark Thiessen. Mark, as I went through all this, if I talked to you in 2022 and said we'd be here in 2024, what would you have said to me?
I would have been surprised. I think it is a great comeback. And look, you're a published historian, so I hesitate to even try and one-up you here. But it would be the greatest comeback since 1892, when Grover Cleveland, who had lost the White House 4 years earlier, came back and defeated Benjamin Harrison, the man who had beaten him, and took back the White House. It's the only time in U.S. history that has happened. This would be, so if Donald Trump pulls this off, it would be the first time in U.S. history that that's happened.
What laid the groundwork for this to take place? Certain things had to happen, and one of which, the issues that really defined him became things that America wanted. They were able to compare the 4 years that were to the 4 years that were to the 3 years that are. And many people are saying, I like it the way it was.
Yeah, I think it's less about what Trump has done than what Biden has done. I mean, Biden has unleashed is the most disastrous president in our lifetimes. I mean, think about this, Brian. The Democrats saw that in 2016, Donald Trump rode the issue of illegal immigration to the White House. And so knowing that, why on earth would they come back into the White House, defeat him in 2020, come back to the White House and unleash the worst border crisis in American history, and then expect that that's not going to pave the way for Donald Trump to make it to ride that issue again? It's like Groundhog Day. except with politics involved. And look, he's succeeding right now because Joe Biden is such a disaster. Joe Biden is the single most unpopular president in the history of presidential polling, going back to all the way back to Harry Truman. He is underwater by double digits on every single issue in the polls. 86% of Americans say that he's too old for a second term. 82% say they want another president. But we got a caveat here, which is a lot of Republicans look at that and say, it's over. Donald Trump, there's no way Donald Trump can lose. There's no way Joe Biden can win. Yes, he can. And if you don't believe me, I got two words for you. Senator Fetterman. The voters have shown us that they will elect a Democrat who just had a stroke if they don't like the alternative. And Donald Trump in the polls is almost as unpopular as Joe Biden. 7 in 10 Americans don't want either of them. So he's got to do Joe Biden has opened the door for him. He's got to walk through it.
1A is the border, 1B is foreign policy, and you see that one person's moving the embassy to Jerusalem, one person's working on the Abraham Accords, and now we have a massive war in the Middle East, the Houthi rebels taking over the Red Sea. Nobody's talking about Abraham Accords and a war in Eastern Europe. If you just look about what caused it and what we're experiencing, that's causing, I think, a lot of undecided independents to say, I'm going to maybe put the saddle on a different horse.
Well, look, if Joe Biden loses the election in November, it'll be because of Afghanistan. And not that I don't mean that it'll be because voters go into the voting booth thinking about Afghanistan, but that was the tipping point. Before the Afghan withdrawal, Joe Biden had more than 50% support. Everybody thought that he was doing, the majority of Americans thought he was doing a decent job. They were giving him the benefit of the doubt. As soon as that Afghan withdrawal came out and then he lied about it and said that no one had advised him not to leave troops behind and all the rest of it, his approval rating fell below 50% for the first time, and it never recovered.
Let's save this.
The Americans suddenly decided that he was dishonest, the polls showed. They showed that he was incompetent, and now they show that he's too old for the presidency. That was the tipping point, that disaster, and that disaster unleashed all the other disasters. Putin would have never invaded Ukraine if it hadn't been
Save
for
this.
Afghanistan. Hamas would have never done what they did if it wasn't for that. So our enemies have been emboldened by his weakness, and the American voters are emboldened to say we need him to be president.
Right, and the other thing I would say, too, Biden may be weak. I look at their Republican field this week. I know Nikki Haley.
Excellent. We'll see you guys next time, all right? Peace.
Governor DeSantis had the best record as a governor that I can remember. I mean, I thought that was a solid field. No one could ever question Chris Christie's competence. So that was not a haphazard